Hey, it's Webs here, and it's time to go over the cards that are rotating out of the core set and the cards that are actually replacing them. I'm going to only really cover the cards that really matter that are rotating out, and I'm not really going over some of the ones that don't, just to save some time. Because honestly, not a lot of the cards that are actually rotating out matter too much. So the first card that I would say would matter a little bit is Lock and Loaded. This is used to refill your hand for questline Hunter, but doesn't really see too much play currently. It always has a little bit of potential to see play. It sucks that a card like this actually is rotating out, but I don't think Hunter is losing too much because of it. Caldera Drake is another card that in theory is kind of shitty that it's rotating out, but only because you can randomly generate it off of Lady Prestor, where two classes can actually abuse it just to get free hero powers infinitely and just have infinite damage. So outside of memes, that doesn't really matter too much. And the next card I would say would matter quite a bit is Light Spawn. This hurts the Bless deck, but that didn't really go anywhere, so I can't say this is too big of a loss overall, and I definitely think Priest got a much better replacement, and we'll talk about that down below. The next card that I would say actually matters, and probably one of the last cards that matters that's rotating out, is Ritual of Doom. This only matters given the fact that Murloc Warlock is becoming a deck, and this would have been such a great card in that deck. Outside of that, I can't see any of these other ones actually mattering. Baron Geddon, I think, would be the only actual neutral card that would matter because of OTK Priest decks, which sucks to see, but he also gets replaced by Bran. So we're seeing a rotation between Death Rattles to Battle Cries being more important in the core set, which is cool overall. So now let's look over the new core cards. So for the new core cards for Demon Hunter, we're getting Metamorphosis, which is a decent overall card. I don't think this is going to see much play. It currently doesn't. And the one that actually matters a bunch, especially because we are getting a bunch of Nagas, Wrath-Scaled Naga, which is getting an actual buff, so it has 2 HP instead. If we had Expendable Performers, this card would be really devastating in the core set, but with Expendable Performers actually rotating out, sure, there's other ways you can actually abuse this Demon Hunter, but it is the card that I was most saddened by actually rotating out before we got a bunch of token Demon Hunter support, and I'm glad to see it come back into the metagame. And now for Druid. Staghelm is actually rotating in, and that means choose one decks actually have a really good card to support them. I think he might be a little bit too slow for the current game, and he is an instant kill target for a lot of people, though this is a really powerful card in theory if we get a bunch of new choose one cards, and has a lot of potential for the future. I'm really glad to see this card come back. I always loved his artwork. It was a shame that he didn't see much play back in the day, but I really do want to try him out again. Nourish is getting buffed, which is a little bit frustrating. I guess most of Ramp is rotating out, so they're not too worried about it, but I'd rather not see this. Mounted Raptor, I think, is rotating in. I don't think this will see much play at all. It just replaces another card that was kind of bad. Living Roots is a card that is really good to see rotating in because it gives Druid some type of direct damage if you want to go for a old-fashioned OTK Druid deck with a bunch of spell power, but I don't know if there's enough neutral spell power for a card like this to see play in a type of deck like that, but I do think this will see some play in either token Druid or something else. Now for Hunter, we're getting Houndmaster Shaw, which gives your other minions rush. So this is what I meant in the Voyage to the Sunken City final reveal video, that you could make a combo between this and the Colossus minion for Hunter, and that could be a really cool idea, but I don't think this will see too much play. He costs a little bit too much. If you can easily abuse some Death Rattles, sure, he'll see some play. Mark Shot is also coming back, which is a little bit frightening, but at least it only does damage to a minion, but it does discover a spell, so that could be a little bit frightening. Animal Companion is cool to see back, probably will never see play. Cloaked Huntress is really good if Secret Hunter sees play. And given the fact that there's been a lot of secret support, I can't see a world where this one doesn't see much play. And Spring Paw replaces Wolfen Tiger, I would say, in my opinion, in a lot of decks, at least aggro-based decks, because this does generate you a bunch of other tokens that you can easily buff up. I do think this one will see a lot of play. Same thing with Candle Shot. This will probably see some play in some type of aggro-based deck. For Mage, we're getting Caligos back, which I think is probably too high cost of a card to actually see too much play. It's a really cool card, and maybe Dragon Mage might become a thing, but it's a really good target for the Drakefire amulets, and that's probably where you're going to want to discover it off of, even if you're missing the battle cry. The card I'm most excited for Mage getting back is Blizzard. This is one of those cards that Freeze Mage has been needing ever since it actually rotated out, and it always frustrated me. They kept printing more Freeze Mage support, but didn't have any type of AoE freeze to just allow you to do anything with that deck. Pyroblast is also rotating in, decent enough card as a big finisher for a fire-based mage deck. I think it's a bit too slow, and I wouldn't really want to run it. Pyromaniac is good for hero power mage, which will probably still see some play. Explosive Runes is a really nice secret. Shame that a lot of secret support is actually rotating out, but we'll probably see play, especially because it does have the fire tag and is a really good defensive secret. Maybe we'll see some type of quest line secret mage, even if we're seeing a bunch of the secrets rotate out. Now for Paladin, Ragnaros the Light Lord, continue to support for Holy Paladin or Heal Paladin. Cool idea. I don't know how well that's actually going to play out in the end, if they can actually survive for quite a long time, especially given one of the other cards that was added into the core set. I do think a deck like that does have a lot of legs to stand on, given a lot of the heal support that we've seen in the recent sets. The other card in question that I was talking about is Amber Watcher, which restores 8 HP. Good card overall. I think this will probably see more play than Ragnaros, just because Ragnaros costs so much. Then the last two Paladin cards are Bronze Explorer, which is a good card overall, and I can't see the world where this doesn't see play if Dragon Paladin becomes a thing again. And then finally, Flash of Light. More healing, more draw power, everything that Paladin could ever want, right? So it's decent enough as a low-cost card, and we'll probably see some play to replace some of the cards that are actually rotating out. For Priest, we're seeing Murazon the Infinite, which has the battle cry, play all cards your opponent played last turn. I don't know if this one will actually see much play. It could be really good if your opponent can't finish you off in one turn, but I don't think that will make it see much play. Vera the Sun Shard is a really, really good card that I am so shocked that they're bringing back. This allows priests to go infinite if they have enough cheap spells, especially given one of the other cards that is getting brought back, and there isn't a world where this doesn't see play. It's just so insane. Light Bomb is alright. It's an AoE board clear. I think Soul Mirror is actually rotating out, so this is a nice replacement. Sadly, it costs 6 instead of 7, so Questline Priest actually loses their really good 7 cost target, but it is what it is. Draconoid Operative is something that I never expected to see come back. Same thing with Lyra. Those were two cards that I never expected, and Radiant Elemental we'll get to in a second too. Both of those are really, really strong cards that a lot of people really hate playing against, especially given the fact that, oh, I guess Draconic Studies is rotating out, so never mind. This is going to be a really powerful card to watch out for. It might be a little bit too slow for the current meta, but it's still insane. Radiant Elemental replaces all the mana sheet that Priest is actually losing. Kind of frustrating to see back, but I don't think Priest has any type of direct damage for this to actually matter too much. So in the end, it's probably just going to be an auto kill target. Could be really good in a Bless deck, and that might actually become more meta relevant because of a card like this being in rotation. And now for Rogue, they're getting Tessa Greymane back, which replays every card you've played from another class this game. Really cool for Thief Rogue, but too random to see too much competitive play. Really funny card to actually try to use, so I want to use this, especially because I haven't done a Thief Rogue deck yet, and there's a lot of cool cards in rotation. Oh, I guess Rogue actually got two other cards, Hench Clan Burglar and Buccaneer. Both of these cards are decent enough for Pirate Rogue, which is support for Pirate Rogue, which actually really needed it, given the fact that Rogue didn't get too many pirates, I don't think, that were actually playable in the Voyage to the Sunken City set, even after Hooktusk got revealed. Shadow Step staying in rotation with Hooktusk is a little bit frightening, though, I will say that. For Shaman, we're getting Cragwall back, which is amazing, I guess. He's always one of those cards that I wish I had used back in the day, but I hadn't been playing Hearthstone consistently enough during that set, even though it was one of my favorite themes that they possibly could have ever done. I was just busy with schoolwork and such. It's cool to actually get a second chance for a card like this. Maelstrom Portal, I think, is rotating back in. I think this might be a little bit too slow nowadays, and you have way better AoEs that you could actually run. Bloodlust is coming back, which is again another card I never expected to say was going to come back. And same thing with Flame Tongue Totem. Again, why couldn't we get this card back when Eyesore was actually a card in rotation? It's really frustrating, but I guess it is what it is. Bloodlust is going to probably see some type of play in some type of aggro-based deck where you can put down a bunch of minions. Now for Warlock, we're getting High Priestess back, which is really cool, though we're losing a bunch of the really consistent discard cards where you're not going to guarantee to discard this every time. I do think this is probably going to see some play if we see more discard support, but until then, I don't think this will see much. Darkshire Librarian, basically the same deal. This probably won't see much play unless you can cheat it out of the deck. You do have the possibility of cheating it out of the deck with Drekthar, and that's probably where you see it, or in some type of aggro deck where you have a bunch of good discard targets. Abyssal Enforcer, just a better version of the Infernal that actually is rotating out to make room for this. That didn't see much play. I don't think this one will see too much play. Really good target for late game for questline Warlock, but the Fellhound is really cool to combo out with the High Priestess, but I don't think that's going to be enough to actually make a deck like that function again. Voidwalker's back, which is just weird. I don't know why it's back. And finally, now we're to Warrior. Darius Crowley is rotating back in. Cool card, probably won't see too much play. Shield Block will probably see a bunch of play because it's draw power and gain armor in some type of control warrior, though you do have the other option of the tradable card, so maybe this might not see too much play. I think Shield Maiden is also rotating back in, but I don't think this one will see play. And Bash will probably see a good amount of play overall. Dealing 3 damage and gaining 3 armor is just decent, though there are a bunch of other armor gaining cards that compete for the same slot, so who knows. And now for the neutral cards, we're getting all of the League of Explorers back, including Reno Jackson. This is a card that is such a fan favorite card and such an iconic card that it's so cool to see him finally come back to standard. And he's going to be one of those cards that I really want to try to push in a bunch of decks, and a really nice build around card. Gives me a lot of room to build a bunch of different decks similar to how Vander and Drekthar does, and it's going to be a really cool card. Elise for the memes is going to be really fun to play around. Being able to shuffle Golden Monkey in your deck with a bunch of dredge cards should allow Golden Monkey to be easier to actually find. I don't know what class is going to use her though. Bran is a meme card that probably won't see much play, but if there's enough battle cries where you can easily abuse this, he could see some play in some type of Warlock deck, which is the only home I can currently see him in, though there's probably some battle cries that I'm actually just forgetting about. Zola makes sense, she's actually coming back. I think this was accidentally leaked out with one of the card reveals. Really cool card, and allows you to get an additional copy of a key minion, so it will probably see play. Sea Giant is going to be really good in some type of token generating deck or Murloc deck. I can't see a world where this doesn't see some play if you can put out a bunch of minions. And Primal Drake is really good if you can survive long enough to actually place him down. I think he's a little bit too slow for the current metagame, but he could still see some play. Mossy Horror is probably a better Primal Drake, depending on how the stat lines of minions line up. Escaped Mana Saber is mana cheat, but not really that good mana cheat, so probably won't see much. I can't remember if Big Game Hunter was in rotation or not, but currently doesn't see play, so I don't think he'll see play now. Murloc War Leader will probably see some play. Volparian Scoundrel will probably see some play if you need to discover some cards and you don't want to run a bunch of spells in your deck. Doomsayer coming back is insane. Don't know why they decided to bring this one back. I guess you can maybe easily remove him, or he's going to just be a hard target to protect your face for a turn, but it does look like Freeze Mage might be a deck coming back. Azura Drake is probably now the best spell damage minion that's actually currently in rotation. Cool to see him come back. Life Drinker probably will see play just because, sure, it doesn't have lifesteal on it. It does allow you to heal and do some damage to your opponent's face. Wild Pyromancer, another card from Freeze Mage that will probably see play again, especially because a lot of the other cards are rotating back in. Swamp Ooze is rotating back in. Might see play, but the tradable one's just better. Acolyte of Pain might be a little bit too slow, but if you have ways to copy it, might see some play. Car Creeper, decent enough minion to prevent your opponent from hitting your face and could get rid of a bunch of minions on your opponent's board. Probably will see some play in Elemental Shaman. Gorilla Bot A3 definitely will see some play if Mech Mage or Mech Paladin becomes a thing. It's just a really good minion overall. Injured Tovar may see some play in some type of Drekthar deck. That's basically the only home it's going to have. Plated Beetle is decent. I think Armor Vendor is rotating out, so that will replace this. This is a little bit slower. So Mistress of Mixtures is probably a really good card to replace Armor Smith, and definitely will see play. Beaming Sidekick, I think doesn't matter too much. You don't really care much about HP, but plus Priest does exist, so who knows. And those are basically all the cards that are rotating in. I think I probably missed some of them, and I did go over a lot of them pretty quickly. I just wanted to try to get this out of the way. And like always, let me know which ones you're looking most forward to actually using in the future. I'm looking forward to using Reno, as I said before, but some of the other cards like Zola or Bran are going to be really fun. Oh, I missed. And like always, if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Until next time, bye bye.